and welcome, dear colleagues and fellow researchers. Today, we will talk about a concept called Anchorage in the semiotics. Roland Barthes introduced this concept of anchorage, which is defined as linguistic elements in a text, such as a caption, can serve to anchor or constrain the referred or preferred readings of an image. Conversely, the illustrative use of an image can anchor an ambiguous verbal text. So, before we go any further into the discussion of anchorage, let us first know a little about Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes was a French literary theorist and semiotician who introduced this concept of anchorage in his work on semiotics, particularly in his essay entitled Rhetoric of the Image. This concept explains how meaning is constructed and guided in text that combine linguistic words and visuals or visual elements such as images. Moving forward, let us know what is anchorage. Anchorage refers to the way linguistic elements such as captions, titles, or labels work to direct or constrain the interpretation of an image. Images are inherently polysemic, meaning they can have multiple possible meanings depending on the viewer's perspective, cultural context, or personal experiences. To reduce this ambiguity and guide the viewer toward a specific interpretation, text is used to anchor the image's meaning. Conversely, images can also anchor ambiguous verbal text by providing visual context that clarifies or supports the intended meaning of the words. How anchorage works. So, first one is text anchoring an image. Images often evoke a range of interpretations because they're open to subjective readings. For example, a photograph of a person crying could signify grief, joy, or even an allergic reaction, depending on the context. A caption or accompanying text can anchor the image by specifying the intended meaning. For instance, a caption like "A mother mourns her lost child" directs the viewer to interpret the crying as an expression of grief, ruling out other possibilities. This anchoring process limits the polysemy of the image, guiding the viewer toward the preferred reading, the interpretation intended by the creator. Second possibility is image anchoring a text. Verbal text can sometimes be vague or open to multiple interpretations. An accompanying image can anchor the text by providing a visual cue that clarifies its meaning. For example, the phrase "a historic moment" is ambiguous on its own. Pairing it with an image of a moon landing anchors the phrase to a specific event, making the meaning clear. Let us check some examples. First is from advertising. Let's say in an ad for luxury car, the image of a sleek vehicle driving through a scenic landscape might evoke various emotions such as freedom, adventure, status. A slogan like "Drive the Future" anchors the image to a message of innovation and progress. In news media, for example, a news photo of a crowded protest could be interpreted in many ways. It can be celebration, it can be unrest, it can be chaos. So the headline like "Citizens Demand Climate Action" anchors the image to a specific cause and context. In art and literature and in illustrated books, an image of a character can anchor a vague description in the text, giving readers a concrete visual to associate with the narrative. Why the anchorage matters. First is the control of meaning. Anchorage is a tool used by the creators. Those creators can be advertisers, journalists, artists, writers, to control how their audience interprets their work. By pairing text and images strategically, they reduce the risk of misinterpretation. Cultural context. The effectiveness of anchorage depends on shared cultural codes. For example, a caption might rely on cultural references or assumptions that the audience is expected to understand. And then semiotic power. Barthes' concept highlights the interplay between verbal and visual signs in communication, showing how meaning is not inherent but constructed through the combination of signs. So, what could be the broader implications of anchorage? Barth says, or Barth's idea of anchorage is part of his broader exploration of how meaning is produced in media and communication. It underscores the collaborative role of text and images in shaping narratives, especially in fields like advertising, journalism, and propaganda, where controlling interpretation is critical. It also invites us to question how much of our understanding of media is guided by these anchoring mechanisms and whether alternative readings are possible. In summary, anchorage is about the deliberate pairing of text and images to steer interpretation, ensuring that the audience perceives the intended message while minimizing the ambiguity. So that is all for today. Thank you.